A fateful gathering took place, the Berlin Conference. Held from 1884 to 1885, it was a pivotal event in African history. But it wasn't a conference of African leaders. 14 European nations, along with the United States, gathered to decide the fate of Africa. This conference, organized by Otto von Bismarck of Germany, aimed to regulate European colonization and trade in Africa. It marked the beginning of a scramble for African territories. The conference ultimately sealed Africa's fate, dividing the continent among European powers. It's essential to understand the motivations behind this European desire for African control. The decisions made in Berlin had long-lasting consequences that continue to shape Africa today. The conference serves as a stark reminder of the devastating impact of colonialism on the African people. Europe in the late 19th century was hungry for resources and power. The Industrial Revolution had created a huge demand for raw materials, and Africa was seen as a vast, untapped source of wealth. Rubber, diamonds, gold, timber, and other resources were abundant in Africa, attracting European greed. Beyond raw materials, European nations sought new markets for their manufactured goods. They wanted captive markets to sell their products. Colonizing Africa also became a matter of national pride and prestige among European countries. The more territories a nation controlled, the more powerful it seemed on the world stage. This competition for colonies fueled the scramble for Africa. The Berlin Conference aimed to establish a set of rules for the partition of Africa. The goal was to prevent conflicts between the European powers as they carved up the continent. One of the key principles agreed upon was the effective occupation rule. This meant that a European power could claim a territory only if it could demonstrate control over it. This principle led to a rush to establish military posts, sign treaties with local rulers, and assert their presence. The conference also addressed issues like freedom of navigation on major African rivers like the Congo and Niger. They sought to ensure free trade in certain regions of the continent. However, the conference largely ignored the existing ethnic and cultural boundaries in Africa. Section 4. The Spoils of Berlin, a continent divided. The Berlin Conference resulted in the formal partition of Africa among the European powers. The entire continent, with the exception of Ethiopia and Liberia, came under European control in the following decades. The arbitrary borders drawn at the conference divided ethnic groups, ignited conflicts, and disrupted traditional ways of life. The conference legitimized the scramble for Africa, leading to brutal exploitation of the continent's resources and people. European powers established colonial administrations, imposed their systems of governance, and often resorted to forced labor and violence to maintain control. The impact on African societies was devastating. Section 5. Legacy of Division, the long shadow of the conference. The Berlin Conference cast a long shadow over Africa. The artificial borders drawn in Berlin continue to be a source of conflict and instability in many parts of the continent. The conference cemented the idea of European superiority and African inferiority, contributing to racism and discrimination. The economic systems put in place during the colonial era often benefited European powers at the expense of African development. The legacy of the Berlin Conference is a reminder of the importance of respecting the sovereignty of all nations and the inherent dignity of all people. It serves as a stark warning against the dangers of colonialism and its enduring impact on the world.